everyone, and thank you for joining us this hour. I'm Anne Nwawado in Lagos. Coming up on The World Today. Passengers stranded at airports across the United Kingdom as hundreds of flights are cancelled due to technical issues. Plus, Sudan's General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan makes his first international trip since internal conflict broke out in the country in April. Welcome back. It is every traveler's nightmare being stuck at the airport for hours on end because of cancelled flights or even delayed flights. Only this time, it was airlines across the United Kingdom which were forced to cancel hundreds of flights and delay many more on Monday due to what has been described as a technical issue by the country's National Air Traffic Service. Footage captured at London's Heathrow Airport shows crowds of travelers stranded in the departures terminal after the technical error unleashed chaos during the busy holiday season. According to reports, more than 200 flights set to depart from the United Kingdom were cancelled, while 271 inbound planes were also grounded. NAT says that it had encountered a flight planning issue affecting its ability to process flight plans automatically.
Some computers from the flight security didn't work, so all flights to Europe got cancelled, and we hope that in the next 24 hours there will be flights again. A new flight for free, but I don't know the flight details, like when it goes or something else, so we'll have to see. Just wait and see.
So I was flying from Lufthansa, flight LH909, and yeah, it's been cancelled. They said they'll give us a refund on hotel accommodation, but for some reason they're saying now they won't. We have to do it ourselves. It doesn't make sense.
Joining us now is Channels Television's London correspondent Heniola Shubawale to tell us more about this horrible issue happening at the moment. Hello, Teniola. It's good to see you. Help us understand what really went wrong with the National Air Traffic System. I mean, a lot of people are stranded, and I'm sure it's not exciting times for everyone at the moment.
Hi, Anne. It's good to see you too. And yeah, you're right. It's not really a good position to be in. So we don't know exactly what went wrong just yet. All we've heard is that a technical issue had affected the air traffic system's ability to automatically process flight plans, which means they had to be imputed manually by staff. How and why this happened is now under investigation. You know, there had been some speculation that this was some sort of cyber attack, but the government has now dismissed that. The government did say that earlier today that it isn't a cyber attack. Another good news is that the issue has now been fixed and most airports are now operating flights, you know, somewhat normally. But the problem is the knock-on effect of yesterday, which has led to the continued delays that we're seeing today. And this is likely to continue well into the week because we have planes, you know, from yesterday that have landed in wrong places and a backlog of passengers to process and get through to their various destinations. You know, one of the groups that this is impacting the most is those stranded in other countries in Europe, you know, just trying to get back home from their holidays. As a result of this, they're having to spend more than they had budgeted for initially, you know, spending more to extend their accommodation on food. So it's really not a nice situation, a position to be in. And this is likely to continue for the next few days, Anne.
All right. We understand that investigations are already ongoing into this issue. What are authorities saying so far about this?
You know, that's the big question now. It's who or what caused this. Like I mentioned, there's been speculations that this was a cyber attack. that has been ruled out. Reports have now also emerged that a French airline may have triggered the fault by imputing a flight plan incorrectly. We're not sure what airline this was, but this also hasn't been ruled out by authorities. So it's really a waiting game for the Civil Aviation Authority to conclude their investigation. But now the main focus is reducing the number of delays and also getting everyone where they need to be as soon as possible, and also reduce the loss from airlines, to much less than what has already been impacted with what we saw yesterday, Anne.
But what about the passengers stranded at the airport? Is there any hope for people to at least get to their destination, or even something to cushion the pain they are currently facing?
There's more hope today compared to yesterday, but it's still a grim outlook, especially for those who had been looking forward to a holiday, or for those who don't have any alternative but just to get home. You imagine some people were meant to be resuming work, today. The last week of August is a time of high demand for air travel, especially for people returning from holiday. We had about 1,500 flights cancelled yesterday, and today already reports of about almost 300, and with authorities warning that this could go on for the rest of the week. It's not a comfortable position for passengers to be in. Airlines are advising people due to travel today to go to the airport as normal unless they're advised differently, and to monitor flight information constantly. But, your whole life is surrounded around this, you traveling. Some people have taken time off work. Some people have booked accommodations for certain times. Some people have booked accommodations that they can't cancel. So it's really not a good position to be in for a lot of people, and it has really disrupted a lot of people's plans.
I mean, one can just only imagine how painful all of this is. But are there talks about refunds, compensations for those affected by those disruptions? I mean, some hotels might not even give you back your money. So is there any plan by authorities to refund or something to cushion the effect this will have on the people?
Oh, so there's good news and bad news. The good news is that under UK law, airlines must let stranded passengers choose between a refund or getting on an alternative flight. In the event of significant delays, airlines must also give passengers reasonable amount of food and drink, and also refunds for the cost of phone calls and communication and this sort of things. Accommodation for passengers stranded overnight, and transport to a hotel or their home. But I mean, you can imagine thousands of people are in this position. So it's not so easy for this all to be worked out in such a short amount of time. So we've had people stranded in airports, and it's not really a comfortable, to sleep on floors with people who have children. So it's really not comfortable. And also the not so good news is airlines don't have to provide compensation for delays and cancellations, because these technical faults are classified as extraordinary circumstances. And there's some things that compensation can't really cover. I was reading earlier about a groom who had a flight booked for yesterday for his wedding this weekend, I think in Spain. So the bride is already in Spain waiting for the groom. And I'm sure you can imagine, if he's unable to make it in time, I don't think any amount of compensation would be able to make the couple feel any better. So compensation or not, these are people's lives being disrupted. So not really a good position.
All right, but is there a timeline authorities are giving to help resolve this problem and get flights back on track?
So like I said earlier, things are a bit normal now, but the backlog from yesterday is, causing more delays, and authorities are expecting the delays to continue till the end of this week. Some people have heard that they might not be able to get flights back till September the 10th, and terrible stories like that. So for now, we're just waiting and seeing till everything can get get resolved. The good thing is that the main issue has been resolved. It's just, clearing the backlogs and getting people to where they need to be, before, as soon as possible, basically.
All right, thank you very much, Teniola Oyetayo. She's our Channels TV London correspondent, and it's good to have you on the program, and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anne.
To other stories now. One of the discussions at this year's BRICS Summit was Brics Pay, which is a joint venture between the 5 BRICS countries launched in 2018 by the BRICS Business Council among the priorities in its annual report. But Brics Pay aims to enable digital payments between different countries in BRICS Plus format, allowing businesses and consumers securely and seamlessly make and receive payments in their own local currencies. It is designed to reduce cost and complexity of international payments while also providing a secure and reliable way to pay for goods and services.
The enlargement, I think it builds a stronger message of multipolarity, and it helps with the goal of self-balancing the international order. With Argentina specifically, this was a clear goal of Brazil to have Argentina as part of the BRICS.
So many of the countries which apply to join BRICS is not because they just want economic growth. That is a little narrow thinking. I think they were forced by the actions of Western powers who believe in unilateral sanctions, closing down all the global reserves, financial payment system, and a lot of things which we have seen right now. So it is imperative for BRICS countries to join together and be ready for any kind of, future, emergencies in the financial sector. So they created G20, in 1999, and then in 2008 they activated it. India is the host of G20. We have a lot of, activities for that, and we are expecting global leaders to come and deliberate. So there's a convergence of topic on G20 and BRICS. We have to make the payment system integrated between India, China, Russia, Brazil, and South Africa, at least. It will help us help our small farmers. We have very small farmers in India and China and even Russia also. So the very first, trading we can do in agricultural products, not just in oil, we can integrate the payment system. This is the first proposal. And the second proposal is that we should be ready because the Western powers are trying their best to sabotage the BRICS. India, Russia, China, and even my colleagues from Latin America and South Africa will play a very important role to bridge this gap and just point out where the money should go, where the infrastructure should be developed, and integrate the market. South Africa is trying to integrate the African Union market. That will become one of the largest markets in the world. As of now, the many countries have been exploiting their raw material, their resources. And very few investment has taken there in Africa. And that is also, they are suffering by the debt trap, So most of the countries are in high inflation and debt.
Residents of Staten Island in the United States have taken to the streets to protest a migrant shelter establishment at a former Catholic school. The protest, which follows a series of rallies and clashes, highlights the ongoing debate surrounding the response to the asylum seeker crisis in the country. Many of them gathered outside the former St. John Village Academy to approach for an event they called Protest Palooza, voicing their opposition to the presence of the migrant shelter. The building has been the focus of several large protests over the past week, with some gatherings reportedly turning confrontational.
We can't have an all-male migrant shelter in the heart of a residential area where there's a Catholic school right there with young girls. It's not going to happen. It's going to be shut down.
We're here to celebrate our freedom. We're here to say that they lack compassion, that we are compassionate. We care about our family, our children, our neighborhoods. And it's just wrong for the government, for President Biden and Kathy Hochul, the governor.
Facility that we don't think is appropriate for this area, adjacent to a nice, in the heart of a beautiful residential community, right across the street from the school. 1,000 children will be every day. 2 blocks from another school, just the wrong place.
Hundreds of migrants and refugees on board the Ocean Viking, which is a ship from the non-governmental organization SOS Mediterranean, have been rescued from the waters of the Mediterranean Sea over the last week. Since Sunday, the ship is said to have been trying to get authorization to dock in Genoa, but according to local media reports, the forecast of storms meant that its destination was diverted to the port of Naples. It also later docked in Napoli on Monday. In the footage released, relieved migrants waited inside the ship while work crew made the final preparations for the start to disembark. On the outside, activists from the organization founded in Germany back in 2015 held up banners welcoming those who had been rescued. After an initial screening and medical examination, they will be sent to different Italian cities for legal immigration procedures. Welcome back. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called for strengthening of the country's naval forces, accusing the United States of turning waters near the Korean peninsula into the most unstable waters with the dangers of a nuclear war. In a speech to mark Navy Day, Mr. Kim said the gang bosses of the United States, Japan and South Korea announced regular joint military exercises. KCNA reported that apparently referring to their August 18th summit at the Camp David in Maryland. But KCNA released still photographs unverified by Reuters of Mr. Kim visiting the naval command of the Korean People's Army and giving a speech. Let's head to Sudan now, where the Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is in Egypt meeting President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. It is the first time that Mr. al-Burhan will leave Sudan since the start of the conflict with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces on April the 15th. The trip is coming just one day after the Sudanese Army Chief dashed hopes of talks to end the prolonged conflict. The Egyptian president has backed General Burhan during the war, but has also been pushing for dialogue. Egypt is also worried about an even greater influx of refugees should the fighting in Sudan continue. Millions have been driven from their homes, and a humanitarian crisis has escalated since the start of this conflict. However, successive talks have failed to bring the fighting to a complete stop. But before he headed to Egypt, General al-Burhan met on Monday with members of the government for the first time since this conflict began, with the rival general erupted in mid-April. But Sudan was plunged into chaos after months-long tensions between the military, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Rapid Support Forces, commanded by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, exploded into open fighting on April the 15th. The deadly conflict has disrupted key sectors, including health and food, but that still shall soon end, the information minister vowed. In the eastern coastal city of Port Sudan, where the meetings were also held, Burhan said a military operation that included naval and air forces enabled him to leave the capital's army headquarters safely. He said that 2 people were killed in the operation. The conflict has rescued the capital to an urban battlefield, and the RSF controlling vast swaths of the city. The power of art to uplift not just children, but any individual in the most trying times is one to reckon with. Well, this is why displaced artists took it upon themselves to bring hope to children in refugee camps who fled war-torn Sudan and prolonged conflict between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces.
Displaced artists, driven by a desire to offer solace and respite, stepped up to entertain children at camps in the Madani capital of Al Jazeera State and East Central Sudan, 4 months after the armed conflict broke out in Sudan. Artists can be seen engaging the young mind in support and fun activities, aiming to provide a temporary escape from the hardships of their circumstances. Mawaheb Al-Mahi, a specialist in puppet theater and teaching and entertainment aids, highlighted the profound impact their artistic endeavors have had on the children.
Since we, performers, musicians, and plastic artists came here, all the children have become our brothers and sisters. They even cry when their parents ask them to leave the center. They consider this place as their home, not a refugee center.
The deep connection formed between the children and the artists demonstrated the camp's transformation into a sanctuary where the arts bridged the gap between their reality and a world of creativity. Fadia Al-Ser, a member of the National Band for Folk Instruments, sheds light on the incredible therapeutic potential of art.
The Great Art House is known for its effects on people, irrespective of their feelings. Using arts, we managed to improve the status of people who came from a war zone with a very bad psychological state.
Clearly, the artist's intention went beyond just entertaining. They understood and harnessed the therapeutic ability of creative expression. According to data from the United Nations, more than 4.6 million people have fled their homes in Sudan, where war has raged for more than 4 months between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces.
And to other stories now, United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, has deployed the health and social workers in West Darfur region amid the deteriorating humanitarian situation there. This move is to help thousands of vulnerable women and girls who need urgent productive health care attention.
In Gadaref State, team from moving to Sudan, we have a quick update for you from our colleagues in the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. In West Darfur, the UN Population Fund has deployed health and social workers to support thousands of displaced and vulnerable women and girls with reproductive health care and protection services, including for survivors of gender-based violence. In eastern Sudan yesterday, UNFPA delivered enough productive health supplies to support 150,000 women and girls for 3 months at the Port Sudan Maternity Hospital. In Gadaref State, team from the UN refugee agencies have been distributing cash assistance to more than 830 Sudanese families forced to flee the conflict. And the White Nile State, UNICEF and its partners have launched a child survival campaign. More than 43,000 children under the age of 5 are receiving measles vaccination. Children suffering from severe acute malnutrition are also being treated immediately after screening.
In the wake of what has been described as a racially motivated shooting in Florida over the weekend, the White House says white supremacy has no place in America. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stated this while speaking during a press briefing. The 21-year-old white gunman shot and killed 3 black people at the Dollar General store in Jacksonville on Saturday. The shooter later died from self-inflicted gun wound. The shooting took place as the people of Jacksonville prepared for the annual commemoration of Axe Handle, which is an act of brutality 63 years ago, which saw a white mob beat peaceful black demonstrators with axe handles and baseball bats. Local police have called the shooting racially motivated, while authorities claim the gunman was in possession of several manifestos detailing his hatred for the black community.
This Saturday, our nation marked the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, a seminal moment in our history and in our work towards equal opportunity for all Americans. Sadly, this day of remembrance ended with yet more American communities wounded by an act of gun violence, including communities in Boston, Chicago, and Joppa. At least one shooting this weekend was reportedly fueled by hate and carried out with 2 firearms. On Saturday in Jacksonville, Florida, a white gunman went on a shooting rampage at a store near historically black university and killed 3 black individuals. Even as we continue searching for answers, We must say clearly and forcefully that white supremacy has no place in America. And we must continue to do all we can to keep guns out of dangerous hands. The President and the First Lady are praying for the victims and their families, and this entire administration grieves with the people of Jacksonville.
Protesters took to streets in Madrid on Monday to show support for national soccer player Jenny Hermoso and to demand the resignation of national soccer chief Luis Rubiales after he gave her an unwanted kiss after Spain's victory in the Women's World Cup. The Spanish Deputy Prime Minister Yolanda Díaz attended the protest organized by feminist groups. Spanish High Court prosecutor on Monday opened a preliminary investigation into Rubiales what might have committed an act if he had committed an act of sexual aggression when he grabbed Hermoso and kissed her on the lips. A spokesperson for the prosecutor's office said the court had received several complaints but would only launch a full inquiry if Hermoso sought one. She has said she did not want to be kissed. Hundreds of carriers and motorists have flooded the streets of Bogota, rallying against the surge in gasoline prices in the country. Dump trucks, freight vehicles and motorcycles converged, leading to roadblocks and assembly in front of Bogota's Ministry of Transportation, demanding negotiations with the government. Well, according to local media reports, protesters, including representative groups of vehicle users and transport workers, expressed their discontent with the frequent increase in gasoline prices, which have now significantly impacted other sectors. The country's truckers' union have been leading the call for a national march to address the high cost of gas and its monthly increment. Hundreds of firefighters continue to battle and contain a huge blaze that has raged for the past 10 days in the Evros region in Greece. Footage shows smoke billowing from the Dadia forest as water-dropping planes flew overhead. A convoy of fire engines from Albania and Slovakia could also be seen rushing towards the blaze as flames approached the villages of Lefkimi and Ismay. The fire started near the city of Alexandroupolis with powerful winds and high temperatures causing the flames to spread rapidly. Authorities are saying that more than 77,000 hectares of land have been engulfed by the blaze, with at least 20 people killed in the fires. Well, hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets of Notting Hill in London to celebrate Caribbean culture, music and diversity as part of the 55th Notting Hill Carnival Parade. Parade participants were in vibrant carnival costumes and flags representing different Caribbean nations joyfully danced along the streets of the British capital. The organizers expect that around 2 million people will join in the festivities during the two-day event. But the carnival's origins trace back to 1958 when Claudia Jones, a Trinidadian human rights activist, conceived the idea of using the carnival to foster unity in the wake of a string of racist attacks in a Notting Hill region. Well, with that beautiful colors and all of that, we end the World's Day. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu.